I'm organised. Hi there guys, I'm back. And the problem with the chip seems to be that I was using this camcorder that I have, whilst wonderful and marvellous and terrific and small and gorgeous, is old technology, and I was using modern super duper chips in old technology and they didn't like it. Don't know why. Excuse me. Anyway, we are going to be talking about the Hierophant. This one. The way that I've drawn it, it could be a woman or it could be a man. It might be Pope Joan, or it might be something else. I don't know whether you know the story of Pope Joan. There's very few female popes, but Pope Joan was one. And don't ask me the centuries because I'm not very good at that. Probably in about the 14th or 15th century something. Pope Joan was only discovered because she went into labour while she was being carried to some ceremony or other out of doors. And it was pretty hard to cover it up. I believe that ever since there has been a very particular test done to make sure that if there's any doubt about the sexuality of the Pope, it's resolved by the Pope sitting in a certain kind of a chair. You can imagine the rest, which I think is rather wonderful. Conjures up all kinds of amazing pictures. Excuse me, I really must sniffle. None of the other glamorous girls on the tarot videos ever have to sniffle. I don't know why, I do. Anyway, the Hierophant, it's ruled by Taurus, and I paid particular attention to that because at various times of my life Taurians have tried to rule me, and when I allow it to happen, it doesn't work out well. I've learned from experience that Taurians and I just, we can be friends, but that's about it. We have no understanding of the way each other's minds work. At one time I had my mother, my sister, and my partner were all Taurians. Yes. So it's something that I watch for. I never get along with my mother, and I'm not madly touchy-feely with my sister either. Although we do get on. We've come to an understanding, as they say in The Godfather. So the upright position of this card sort of tells you about it's all about tradition and counselling and advice and psychotherapy and spirituality and all of those things. And reversed, it's non-traditional methods and, in a way, overindulgence. So there's two quotes that occurred to me, and one was from the Bhagavad Gita. The Supreme Lord said, "I shall reveal to you who do not disbelieve the most profound secret of self-knowledge and self-realization. Having known this, you will be freed from the miseries of worldly existence." So you can see from the Hierophant the wonderful swirling of stars and planets and moons and suns. That this is like when Arjuna said to Krishna, well, you know, if you say who you say you are, show me. And Krishna did. Krishna showed him the world's being born and, you know, history being made and everything through the ages. And it says in the Gita that Arjuna's hair was standing on end. I'm sure that it would be. I'm also reminded by the book called Illusions by Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And in that, there's a quote, and he said, "The master believed that he had the power to help himself and all mankind, and as he believed, so it was for him, so that others saw his power and came to him to be helped of their troubles and diseases." And that is kind of like the Hierophant. People can tell he's a person or she's a person of great power, and they respond to that. They come because they know. The Hierophant is the masculine counterpart of the High Priestess. However, both of, the Hierophant, although it's a masculine counterpart, it can be a masculine energy counterpart. In the same way as the High Priestess, as I said, as far as I'm concerned, can be a High Priestess from the point of view of energy. It doesn't have to be a woman. The Hierophant is also known as Chiron, or the Pope, or known as a shaman. He represents a wise counselor, but could also represent a physiotherapist, not a physiotherapist, a psychotherapist. When you draw this card, it's telling you that now is the time to look towards your tradition. And if you have to make decisions, make them in a traditional way. Go down traditional paths. In this light, you could also start down a new spiritual path, but do it in a traditional way, so don't go right out on the edge. I was going to say, you'd want to go to the Church of England rather than Scientology, but hang on. If Scientology is your family's religion, if it is one, or philosophy, then tradition would be going that way. And moving towards Church of England or United Church or something like that would be over the edge. So it's a decision you have to make. So if you look at the picture, there's the three-tiered crown. That denotes a religious leader at the top echelons of his job, profession, whatever you want to call it, calling. The crossed keys down the bottom of the card represent dominance between the, not dominance, the Hierophant has dominance, but the subconscious and the conscious, represented by the keys, are accessible to him. That's what I was trying to say. So the Hierophant can unlock the mysteries of the conscious and the subconscious. They can talk to each other. Most of us, the conscious and the subconscious, never talk to each other. That's why hypnosis really works. In between the subconscious and the conscious is kind of like a scone tray. And when you do hypnosis, or when you're at Casey, you can pull that scone tray away. So it makes the conscious accessible to the subconscious, or vice versa. It's really an incredible thing when you get to talk to the subconscious. So the Hierophant's right hand, which he's got raised in benediction, echoes the magician's right hand. But whilst the magician channels raw power, the Hierophant channels the same power through a gentler, more spiritual path. It's not less powerful, it's just different. I'm sure you've seen the television programs, the magicians, where they go like this and suddenly someone flings against a wall. That is raw power, where you're using raw energy without any concern for the other. So the Hierophant channels great power through a different way. His is a healing, consulting, bringing together sort of power. This card acknowledges that you have a really strong position on what is right and what is wrong. So you'd be aware of justice. It's interesting that a lot of people who are Taurians go for that kind of profession. They become religious or lawyers or something like that. Use this knowledge. If you draw this card and you're doing it as an oracle, then use this knowledge to solve problems and lead others to freedom, not to cause them problems. So the Hierophant person can present radical ideas in a new way to make them understood and acceptable. Some people, however, might think that you are inflexible, mired in old ways and pretty stiff-necked. And it's often difficult for you to deviate from what feels comfortable and right. But it's also difficult for people around you to see you as a relaxed and convivial kind of person, although maybe you'd like to be. I'm always reminded of when my son used to take my partner and I to student parties. Much later, years later, he said, you know, how did you like those parties? And I said, well, they were pretty tame. And he said, well, they were only tame because we always thought that maybe your partner had some kind of links to the police or something like that. So nothing really happened until you two left. So there we are. You know, people's perceptions can be quite devastating. So this might be a time to consider a change of job, a change of residence, a change of partner, or all three. Some of these changes might be voluntary, but some changes might be hoisted onto you. It could be a restless and unsettled time of your life. However, that grounded Hierophant kind of thing is going on, so it won't be a wild ride. It just is different. The Hierophant encourages you to explore spirituality and religion or a belief system, and it is possible that you have for some time been seeking answers to philosophical questions. You have a strong desire to gain knowledge and access the spiritual teacher part of your personality. You are the kind of person who is always on the path of the Holy Grail. Reversed, it shows an unhelpful person who uses facts and force and anything they can to distort the truth and mislead others to their own advantage. And they can do it with an absolutely straight face. No sweat on the upper lip, nothing. This person could overindulge in drugs and lovers and food, but they will have no remorse. They won't, because it's what they want, they won't see that it's wrong for anybody else. You know, they might take a lover and say, well, she wasn't really a lover, she was a housekeeper. Well, excuse me, no. So, you know, if this card is reversed, nasty things can happen. Right, meditations on the card. I always tell you to meditate on the card. It would be a very good idea if you made yourself a beautiful meditation journal. And in your journal, write down where you find yourself in relation to this card. Imagine if you were the Pope or God, how you would deal with the position that you're in at the moment. I remember when a reporter asked Madonna, who had just joined the Kabbalah philosophy, religion, whatever it is, And he asked her how it had changed her, and she said, well, when I get into a position that I don't know what to do, I'm confused, I always ask, what would God do? So maybe that's a question you could ask. Even if you're not Madonna, I think it would work. So review your recent decisions in light of this card and write them down. When you meditated, what occurred to you? Write it down. Was it sounds? Was it knowings? Was it inner visions? What was it? Tell the story and the messages as you experience them. Now, I know it takes a little bit of discipline to do this, and I know you're not going to have success right off. Just doodle and do the best you can. Work on it the best you can, because once you get this flowing, it may not be automatic writing. Once you get this flowing, it'll be enormously helpful to you, but it will take a little bit of work. Okay, I'm off now. It's a beautiful day. The temperature is lovely and cool. And I'm just going to have an easy night of it, I think. I have been working like a little dervish, getting all the studio and everything ready for you, my wonderful students and clients, to come. I have tidied and dusted into areas that haven't seen the light of day for a long time. I don't know whether you realize, but you know, if you're going to do an exorcism, the first thing you do is you totally clean the house. So I'm not going to do an exorcism, but I have totally cleaned the house, ready for the wonderful things that are about to happen. So if you're coming to see me, most welcome. If you're not, hop onto the web, www.myyogabooks.etsy.com, and I look forward to delivering another tarot to you tomorrow. Namaste. Go forth with peace.